welcome to PRTV. Each month we have a look at issues faced by public relations professionals. Now these programs live permanently here on the PRIA website, so you can visit this edition and future editions whenever you like. In almost every aspect of our lives, we're surrounded by messages. On the internet, on our mobile phones, and conventional media too, as television, radio and press strive to get relevant and stay relevant to online audiences. In this edition of PRTV, we ask the experts about online engagement. What can be achieved? What are the new rules and tools? And what can go wrong?
Yeah, I think it has a huge impact on public relations. Traditionally, we've been focused on traditional media relations, if you like, and I think now public relations has expanded to embrace social media, blogging, the internet in general, and allowing us to engage with completely new communities in different ways.
The massive growth of the internet and the World Wide Web over the past few decades, which is something that no one predicted, interestingly, not even Bill Gates or Rupert Murdoch, is redefining everything we know about corporate and marketing communication. But in particular, it's what's referred to as Web 2 that's the real issue for public relations and marketing, because it's not just a technology. Web 2 refers to two-way interactive practices, and it's the practices that are changing more than the technologies even.
I don't believe it is going to impact. It's just another communication channel, so we're continuing to do what we've always done, but we just have more variety and faster ways of communicating with people.
So we need to be clever about how we invite clients to use the internet or social marketing in the health space. But there's some real advantages to that. If we know that, and research shows us that people are engaging on the internet to find health information, then we need to have it there. It needs to be accurate. The quality of the information that we put up needs to be right.
I think that there are a number of companies within the technology sector, understandably, who are getting it and are doing some fantastic things. Like you see that with companies like IBM and Microsoft. And I think also in the FMCG space as well, with some of the consumer brands, they're really getting it. I think particularly as advertising spend is under scrutiny and under strain, people are looking for new ways to engage with audiences, and I think social media is a fantastic way to do that. But I think the challenge for clients and what I think we're still working with clients to understand is that it involves a different approach. We're now talking about not having complete control of the message, although it's arguable that we never did. It's about understanding that it's not a unilateral discussion or communication mode. It's a bilateral communication. It's a dialogue. And it's about opening up. It's about allowing the company to have a more authentic face and a more authentic voice.
So what we find is that supporters for an organisation like Anglicare are people who aren't deriving any sort of real tangible good or service from their interaction with us. They're people who find they have an alignment with the values of the organisation. So online, in a social media context, we help to form part of that online identity, and so they become those third-party advocates for us.
By this time, many organisations are well into some form of online or digital PR strategy. There's a lot to be gained from doing it well, but there are risks too.
Look, I think there's been some great examples with Tourism Australia, with the Hamilton Island idea. I think that generated a lot of discussion. It was a very authentic and transparent approach, and I think that people have asked questions about it, the approach. But the important thing is that it's created a lot of discussion and a lot of awareness around the world as well about Australia.
There's a campaign going on by Ford in the US at the moment where they have reached out to 100 bloggers and asked them to test drive their new Fiesta for the next 6 months and then obviously post comments about it. That is very powerful.
And what about the flip side? What about when things go horribly wrong?
The one that would come to mind is the Witchery campaign. I think there were a lot of really great, exciting things about that campaign. But I think the thing that some journalists and a lot of PR practitioners questioned was the authenticity of that campaign. It's important for companies not to hijack those mediums as well and to disclose that they're using that channel and to talk about that campaign in an open way. Authenticity, I think, is a really key element of why PR practitioners are going to use social media campaigns as opposed to traditional media campaigns. It's about having open, two-way discussions.
Well, some of the risks, I think back to the very famous movie Network in 1976 with Peter Finch, and there's a scene where he says to people, lean out the window and say, I'm not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, I'm angry as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore.
And the thing there is, people had no other choice but to lean out a window and shout. Today, if they're angry, they've got massive global networks available to them in the internet, and they've got powerful tools like blogs and YouTube. So if they are not happy and not going to take it anymore, management will hear about it.
I see it as a little bit of CSR in making sure that you inform your employees of what's appropriate use of social media, particularly in the context of your work environment and commenting on your work. And number two, really making sure that the people who are conversing on behalf of the organisation are very familiar with the do's and don'ts of social media and have very clear objectives about what they're trying to achieve, just as they would any other PR strategy.
We're online much more than we were a year or two ago. We're delivering online PR for our clients, and I absolutely believe that in a few years' time, what our business used to do will be an absolute minority of service provision, and the majority of it will be online.
And if you have any suggestions or contributions for PRTV, email producer@reputationtv.com. And a reminder to PRIA members to log on to the website for the latest edition of the newsletter, available now. In the next edition of PRTV, we turn our attention to ethics. How well does the profession conduct itself in an ethical framework? A question of ethics in our next episode in June. Thanks for your company on PRTV. We'll see you next time.